Hey everybody, Jim Edwards here, and welcome back to another episode of the Sales Copywriting and Content Marketing Hacks Podcast. This is episode 160. I'm your host, along with my trusty co-host, Mr. Stu Smith. Welcome, Stu.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm so glad you're here, and I know we have an exciting topic to share with the folks today, a nice follow-on from our Jim and Stu show, which if you've never seen the Jim and Stu show live, you can on Facebook. Catch us at the Sales Copywriting and Content Marketing Hacks Facebook group. You can join for free. Just don't be a jerk.
There you go.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, this one is about being strategic with your content. And that's the question I'm asking everybody. Are you strategic with your content? But first of all, are you consistent enough to even have a strategy?
Ooh.
Okay, that's the first hump of this. You have to be consistent. But then when you are consistent and you think your content game is strong, do you really have a strategy that's working?
You'll think your content game is strong. Okay.
So that's kind of where we're starting this. And then, I just want to say it doesn't always have to be, repurposed content. It can be different platforms. It can be different answers to problems that you're solving. There are many ways to put content out there into the world.
Sure.
Is it just following a logical path? And can you track it? Can you see the results that are occurring from what you post every day or what you create every day?
I thought you just made me think of a really good analogy. It's like when the idea and the keyboard really love each other and get really close together, they have a baby known as content. Totally inappropriate, but it was better than my dumpster baby analysis. So I want to ask you a quick question, though, Stu. A lot of times this word strategy or strategic gets thrown around a bunch. As a former Navy SEAL officer in charge of multi-million-dollar, if not billion-dollar equipment and men, what does strategic actually mean? What does that mean?
Well, it's a bigger picture.
Okay.
So it's strategic would be, winning the war. Tactical would be winning the battle.
Okay.
Right? In a very elementary explanation. But it's just a bigger picture to thoroughly understand what is happening. You have to have both, tactical and strategic, but the strategy side is just the entire picture.
Okay. So that's a segue for me trying to manage my camera angle, because I think we're going to permission to go to the board, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So we're just going to say consistent content. So strategy equals your plan, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
And tactic equals consistent content of specific various types.
Also, how you're going to do the plan. Okay. Does that make sense?
So
strategy is the plan. Tactics are how you're going to do the plan.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Plus. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking there's a third element here. Okay. The tactic is how you're going to do the plan. And then what would the content be? The consistent content creation. Plus distribution. Is that the execution? Yeah, go with me
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Okay.
I would think so.
Okay, so strategy is the plan, the big plan. The tactic is how you're doing the plan, and then the execution is your consistent content creation. So, the strategy is I want to use content to build a following on Facebook. So, the tactic is I'm going to go live 5 times a week and I'm going to answer questions and stuff. And so, the execution is consistent content creation. I go live with specific frameworks. So one might be Monday might be Q&A, Tuesday might be an interview, Thursday might be a monologue for, that kind of stuff. Plus, not only do I put it out on Facebook, but I also tell people on my other channels to go watch me over on Facebook. So then being strategic with this means going back and doing it for like, I don't know, what do you think? 2 weeks, 1 week? 1 week?
Yeah,
1 to 2 weeks?
definitely just enough to where you can see a trend.
Okay. You're looking
at
for
least
a trend.
that long.
Okay, so you're looking for a trend so that you can go back and based on your plan say, am I getting closer or further away from my goal? Whatever the result is that I'm trying to achieve, which we probably should have defined that at the beginning too. What's the result that you want to get? That's what you do. And so if you're getting closer to your goal, what do? Keep doing it. If you're not getting closer to your goal, if you're like, hey, it's not going the way I think, let me kind of change what I'm doing or change the content that I'm creating. I mean, these are real closely tied.
Sure.
But if I hadn't gone back, we told the story in the Jim and Stu show about increasing sales 438% week over week. Your results may vary. But if I hadn't gone back and looked and seen that a trend had been affected one way or another, I would have just kept doing what I normally do, and it would have been a blip on the radar. And I guess we just had a good week. The stars aligned.
Something else, Jim, too, is it really comes down to assessing. So if you're not assessing these things, you're just guessing. And I guess that's the biggest difference.
Ooh, that sounds like a pretty cool thing there. If you're not assessing, you're guessing. It's kind of like what you don't measure, you can't improve. So we really have a 4-step process here I'm seeing for being strategic with your content. You got to have a strategy with a result in mind. You got to have the tactics of how you're going to execute the strategy with content. And then you need to have built-in assessment to see whether it's working or not. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the hook for this is what a Navy SEAL can teach you about content marketing. Ooh, that's a decent hook.
Actually, that's pretty good.
That's not a bad hook. You guys tell me in the comments whether that's a good hook or not.
That's kind of cool.
That's not, or the 4 steps, or how content marketers can use the same 4-step strategy that Navy SEALs used to take out Osama bin Laden.
Let's do it.
Strategy, tactic, execution, assessment. You could even sell them rocks that they use to do their after action report. You sell them the actual rock that they pass around the circle that the only guy holding the rock is the one who's allowed to talk. The genuine SEAL rock.
Hey, let me tell you why this is important.
Okay.
Jim, is because we tend to be creatures of habit.
Yes.
And if you ever notice somebody who is a prolific poster on social media, you will see trends of how they post.
Yes.
It might be a video one day, might be a picture one day, might be a meme the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this kind of daily process that they go through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just because you are a creature of habit doesn't mean you have a strategy.
Right.
You might just have a really
decent habit,
organized process that works, but
yeah,
it's not necessarily a strategy, because if there's no way of really assessing if the whole thing's working or not,
right.
you don't know if it's the right method
Mm-hmm.
to do it. And all it might change, you might not have to change a single thing about what you're posting. You might just have to add in a little tactic in there, like a stealth close, or a better picture, or just little things like that that can
Right.
turn it, your normal content, and make it a little more strategic to what you're trying to do.
Right. And that's really the assessing is the measure and improve step, and making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. People say that's a good hook. Robert says using a thumb. What a Navy SEAL can teach you about content marketing, ... using just a thumb. It sounds like a Chuck Norris. It sounds like a Chuck Norris thing. What's the coolest thing you ever got to shoot while you were a Navy SEAL? Did you ever get to shoot like a rocket or like a 50 cal Maldeus or any of that?
Back then it was the AT-4.
Okay.
So it's an anti-tank weapon. I mean, I always, the 50 cal was fun, but if you shot too many 50 cals in a day, you were basically hung over for a couple of days.
Really?
I mean, the shock wave hit you so hard. In fact, they've discovered, after 20 years of war, that a lot of the problems that people are having are the concussive waves from shooting too many 50 cals.
Okay.
And it's like a TBI type issue.
Okay.
So yeah, those always made me kind of like, I was nauseated for the next 24 hours after, if I shot like 5 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sick. So that was understanding like the kind of force you're getting subjected to. But my favorite by far, the MP5.
Okay.
I mean, that is just a smooth weapon. And if you put a little silencer on it, and go full auto, all you hear
click, click,
is
click, 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 click,
the
click.
mechanics of the weapon occurring.
Okay.
And normally you don't hear that when you're shooting. You hear the bangs and stuff, but it is such a smooth system.
Huh. So when anyway. I get mine out, it'll entice you to come to my house again. Make your every 8-year journey.
It's a good. Anyway, that those were fun, but cool. They the bigger they were, they came with a cost.
Okay.
So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else we want to talk about?
Well,
being strategic with the content.
You can think of it this way too. That plan right there, I mean, it's a really good plan. You can use that method for anything. Doesn't have to be content marketing. You set up a strategy that's going to lead you towards a goal. You got a certain level of tactics on how you're going to get there. Couple options. You might have to play around, see which one works best for you. So what are we doing? We're testing. You make sure it happens. You can't just like think about it saying, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. You got to do it. And then you have to assess. So that is a really good 4-step process for any goal achievement.
Sure. Well, and let me ask you a question. What else would somebody need to do? I mean, there's really nothing else to do. Figure out what you're trying to get done. I mean, it's almost like the scientific method. Here's what I think here's the result I want. Here's what I think I need to do. Or here's the overall strategy. Here's what I think I need to do. Then I need to go execute and do enough stuff so that I can compile enough data to be able to evaluate whether it was working or not. And then once I figure out what is working, I'll keep doing that. And whatever's not working, I stop doing what's not working and just kind of try and take myself slowly up the ladder to just being awesome.
You know what's funny, Jim? is you almost can't have strategy starting. It almost has to be in the next shift of this. Like you're planning to set a goal, you got tactics, you got execution, you assess, you figure out something that works, and that's your strategy.
I could
You
see
see what?
you could back into it, yeah, unless you
Yeah,
knew,
yeah,
if you're trying to figure something out on your own. But you normally don't want to try and figure stuff out on your own. Go
sure.
find somebody who has already gotten the result that you want, whether it's in the same industry or different industry. See what their strategy is. What tactics did they use? How can I, if it's the exact same industry, let me do the exact same thing, because then I can at least see what happens and be able to measure my results against the results they're saying they got. And so always try and borrow somebody else's strategy, even somebody else's tactics. That's one of the reasons why people love my wizards and love all my stuff so much, is because they don't have to think. They pretty much go right into doing. And it's as easy as just filling out a form, whacking a button, and getting an amazing result. You don't have to learn all this stuff. It just speeds it up. And that's really what all those wizards are. Those wizards are basically a time machine. They help you compress weeks of learning and understanding and fiddling around into a few minutes of just answering questions about you, your customer, the ideas and other stuff, whacking the button, and you get that first result that you can then edit, as opposed to having to learn and inculcate frameworks.
Yeah, I find it great for me because I love writing articles, and it's just a great system to come out with that first draft, put it right into my, Shopify blog section, start editing, adding pictures, and boom, got a nice little closing at the end.
There you go.
I love it. I love
How often
many
do
of those
you
wizards as can.
How often do you publish your content? How often do you publish a piece of content?
I do every day on social media, whether it's a video on TikTok or it's a picture video combo on Instagram. Facebook usually gets something too, of the same type of stuff. I'll tend to link articles into Facebook and Twitter more, just because it's easy. You can actually use links, whereas in Instagram and TikTok you can't use a link, unless it's in a story.
Right.
So there's so many different variables that kind of drive how you post into these social media platforms. But I also publish 3 articles a week on another website, military.com, but I'll also write 2 more articles a week and a couple of videos, do a couple live Q&As. Thinking about going 2 a week now because they're getting very popular. And I'm seeing my YouTube channel grow because of my live Q&As.
Curious. What is your plan? What is your tactic or execution on those live Q&As for translating that free content into people actually buying stuff?
Well, it's fun because I almost challenge people to ask me a question that I haven't already answered.
Okay.
Right. So I got 2 screens going. I'm answering questions. Someone asks a question. I type it into, my Google search, hit my name at the end of it. Boom. And I've got an article already written to answer that question.
Okay.
And when they go to that, it's on my store, and it's a whole lot. So I'll pull a lot of people who ask a question. Hey, that's a really good question. I've already answered it. Check it out right here. But I'll give you like a minute synopsis of this, 500, 600 word article.
That's brilliant. And I love that. And I'll tell you why, because you can tease them with the article. They know that there's more. They've seen that there's more. You got the curiosity thing of you just pulled it right out of Google. You give them enough to get them thirsty, but not to get them the results. So they go read the article. They've interacted with you. You gave them part of an answer. They've then gone and read an article. By the time they see the call to action or the offer, they're like, here, just take my money. I mean, this Stu's got my stuff. That's brilliant. That's
Thank you.
really good.
Another one that I do is I do the live Q&A, but I also combine it with what I call the combat swimmer stroke critique. So people send me a video, I critique it live for them. And I usually have these situated, a day before, so I'm ready to go with like 2 or 3, maybe 4 of them during that hour. So that's one show. And so my second show that I just teased yesterday in the live Q&A, I said, look, I'm thinking about doing this one again. What day works best for everybody? Everybody was like, Friday, let's do Friday. Right? I'm like, okay, we'll do a Friday show. And I think this next one is going to be, can you ask a question that I've never answered? So it's almost a challenge to everybody who comes in. Like, and if they can't, I'll just keep sending them to I already wrote that article. Boom, it's there. Right. So anyway, it's be kind of fun. And then when I don't get one, I like make a big deal about it. Like, oh, that's a great question. I've never answered that one. Here's what I would do, if I have this issue, right? In fact, thank you so much, because I'm going to write another article on that topic. So there will be an article written about that today. Yeah.
So people are like, why sleep when you can launch another show? There's a trend, and Susan sent me the article about it. Susan, I'm going to bring you on real quick. So Susan sent me an article about this thing that they're doing in China with e-commerce and stuff, where they're using chat and hyper connectivity with their potential customers, and kind of summarize can you summarize the article, Susan, what it was?
It's basically making like automated personalization through WeChat and reaching out to people and making them feel like they were part of the brand and included.
But developing relationships, like you would have, like my mom used to do at the craft mall, where she knew everybody, or the craft shows, and people would come to see her at different malls, and she knew their color schemes. She knew events that were going on in their lives. And she was like a concierge of the craft show. And so people came to see her. What you're doing is putting such a high level of touch on with these people, but you're integrating sales into it. So it's like, hey, how do I do this? Hey, here's how you do it, and here's a whole bunch of how you do it on the other end of that is a book or a course or a training. That sounds exactly like what they were talking about in that article, is what Stu's doing on that live show, which is pretty smart. You're a smart guy, Stu.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. My dog was barking.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's become more of a challenge to actually find, because I have over 1,000 articles I've written. Right. And I've been doing it like 3 a week for 20 years almost. And so it's always fun to find the one I haven't written about.
Well, and another thing I'm seeing that's working, especially like on the workshops we do on Thursdays inside of Content Marketing Scripts, when we gamify it in such a way. So like when we did the word of the day, instead of letting everybody pick their own word, we had everybody suggest a word. I wrote them all on the board. Then we had people pick random numbers. So then I counted on the board. And so we chose 4 words at random. Those, you had to choose from those 4 words. You could only use one of those 4 words to do your word of the day content. And people got so engaged because it had just kind of a fun, challenging, not the same old thing feel to it. It's like Stump Stew. I wonder if stumpstew.com is available. That's probably an alternative lifestyle site or something. I don't know. But the key, though, is that you're making it fun and you're challenging people, and it makes it different. And I think that's a cool thing. And I think that's really something to watch out for. What we saw in this article, though, about, and what you're doing, Stu, is just that extra level of service that if you had a store, like a local store that people would come into, you would naturally do that with people. Well, now you can do that. And I think that's going to be more and more important.
I mean, they even said in this article that McDonald's was doing the same thing over in China, and they were having competitions between franchisees of McDonald's in China over who had more in their WeChat group.
Yeah. So figuring out ways to interact with people and add value, and then steer them to making a decision to buy something and being happy with it was pretty cool. So thank you, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stu, I think that does it for us.
That was a good one.
Yeah, if y'all want to learn how to create content and have a content strategy, if you want to discover how you can use non-how-to content to get people even more thirsty and excited for whatever it is you sell, head on over to contentmarketingscripts.com. Got a nice little training there for you. We'll teach you 3 secrets of content marketing, as well as give you a demo of a couple dozen or more scripts that will help you to create amazing content that'll get you more clicks and sales. So, Stu, and if they want to just stop being chubby and have an amazing beach bod in the next 72 hours, what should they do? Drink nothing but water.
I don't know. Take a pill.
Yeah,
StuSmithFitness.com. There's no pills at Stu Smith Fitness. Just work.
Just work. No supplements or anything either? You don't have a supplement line?
Nope.
Not even pickle juice?
I do have pickle juice. That is handy.
There you go. All right. Well, we appreciate you all. And so we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.